Mr. Lumada. He will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Lumada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely, won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing story time with Mr. Lumada. He will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Lumada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely, won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing.
Good morning, and welcome to Story Time. Thank you for being here. How are you doing today? I am glad that we're here together for another amazing story. Yes, indeed, yet another day together. And thank you for being here. Thank you for loving books. Thank you for joining in to read. And please don't forget, if you have recommendations, keep sending them my way so we can bring them here to Storytime as well. And indeed, so we can share them with others so they can get to enjoy the books that you do too. Thank you so much for joining in, and welcome today. Glad we're here. Happy Thursday. Out here in Oakland, it promises to be raining today the whole day, so it is definitely reading weather and indoor weather. But thank you everybody joining in. Let us know how it is where you are, and I hope you're well. I hope you're staying dry. I hope you're staying warm, and indeed I hope you're cozy today for story time. Thank you so much for being here, and welcome. And please remember too that Right for a Reason is still happening April 23rd. Excited about that one. And thank you to everybody really that has contributed in whatever ways, whether it's just a vote of support, or indeed has donated, or indeed has shared with other friends. Thank you, because you made this possible. We raised over $5,500, and it is just amazing to see community come together like that. Thank you so much for supporting schools out here in Oakland, public schools out here in Oakland, as well as Alameda, the city next door. Thank you so much for being here. Absolutely excited to be here with you. And we do have a wonderful book. Like we've said this week, we're reading books from SCHIFFER Kids. Yes, our friends at SCHIFFER Kids have donated amazing books for us to read here, and we've had some great ones. And of course, another one is here today. And this one is called Head to Head, 18 linked portraits of people who changed the world. Yes, this one is a good one. And unfortunately, we're not going to read all of it, but we're going to pick bits from it and just share those and maybe have a little discussion about them as well. And this one is written by Baptiste CORNABAS and illustrated by ANTOINE CORBINEAU. And I hope I'm saying those names correctly. My French friends, please do forgive me. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. Excited to be here. Another great book, and I'm glad we're here together. And also just a reminder too that this, with California being in a drought, this rain is much needed out here in Oakland. I know that there'll also be some snow falling out in the mountains, so long may that continue. I hope we get more, because we're just in dire need of it. But I hope where you are, everything is okay with you too. Thank you so much for joining in, and welcome to Storytime. Great story awaits. Head to Head. Yes, who would you put head to head? And you're going to see when we read explanation a bit, the forward, you're going to see how these portraits were picked and what it is that links those people. But amazing indeed, and I'm glad that we get to share this one. Find it at your local library, find it where you find books, and indeed get to enjoy and read about these inspiring stories. Thank you so much for joining in today. Good morning to you, Amanda. How are you doing? Amanda, where's Sarah and Nathan in sunny and bright Illinois? Oh my goodness, sounds amazing out there. Thank you so much for joining in. I hope that you have a lovely day indeed and enjoy that sunshine and that brightness. Thank you for joining us on Storytime. Always a pleasure having you here. Good to see you. Please, if you're here, let us know you're here so we can say good morning to you. And of course, if you're joining us later for the recordings, please do leave us a message. Let us know you were here so we can say hi to you next time. But of course, hope you enjoy the stories most of all. And remember that Storytime comes to you live 7 a.m. Pacific time, and we're also on at 11 a.m. Pacific time for a repeat of this recording. And then, of course, you can find us at our archives on Facebook and also on YouTube. But also, you can find more content from us on Instagram as well as our website at storytimewithmrlimada.com. Thank you so much for joining in here today. Tell your friends, let everybody know Storytime is here. Yes, a beautiful community for love of books, love of stories, for everybody, the young and the young at heart. Thank you so much for joining in today. Glad you're here. Good morning to you one more time, Sarah and Nathan out in sunny and bright Illinois. And of course, Amanda, Wes, thank you so much for joining us today. Good morning to you, Rocco, Clay, and Chriselle. Thank you so much for joining in. And you're saying it is chilly out there in Long Beach. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. Excited that you're joining us and excited for the book today. Well, me too. Thank you so much for being here. I am great. Thank you for asking. I am doing well. A little bit overwhelmed with homework here and there, a little bit of work, a little bit of this and that. But you know what? This is the anchoring station right here. Story time together, reading books, just makes me forget everything else that needs to be done and just enjoy this moment. Thank you for asking. Appreciate that. Thank you. Good morning to you, Rocco, Clay, and Chriselle. Absolutely appreciate you. Hope this book, of course, warms your heart and indeed keeps you nice and warm out there in chilly Long Beach today. I don't know how many times we get to say that. Chilly Long Beach. Thank you for being here. Good morning to you. How are you doing, Pamela Courtney? Soggy, hello from Braylon, Chad, and Auntie Pam. Wait a second. Are you in Oakland today? Because that's exactly how Oakland is today, too. Thank you so much for joining in. Auntie Pam, will you ask Mr. Limada if he could read Abuelita and me? And oh, okay. Definitely putting that one down. Definitely putting those down. And we'll be looking into them and see if we can bring them here. Thank you definitely for sharing them. And Eyes That Kiss in the Corners. I love that one. I love those books. Thank you. Okay, you have asked. I am looking into it today for sure, and I'll be letting you know, of course, if those will be coming on to story time. Keep your ears open, keep your eyes open as well for those. Thank you so much for being here, and that is what we need, recommendations right here on story time, and we will do our very best to bring them here. I guarantee you that. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. Absolutely appreciate it. Some titles there to look at. All right, before we get started with our story today, and remember too that we're reading Head to Head. This one, 18 linked portraits of people who changed the world. And this one is coming to you from Baptiste CORNABAS, illustrations by Antoine CORBINEAU, and of course we're reading this one with permission of SCHIFFER Kids. Thank you so much for allowing us to read these books here on Storytime. Join me on the other side of this message for more Storytime. Thank you for being here. Good morning to you. Absolutely love it that we're here together. Here we go.
Hello, I'm Olalu Ogunyemi, officer in the United States Marine Corps and author of Crow from the Shadow. You are tuned in with my brother on Storytime with Mr. Lamada. Enjoy and God bless.
Thank you, Olaolu. Oh, absolutely appreciate it. And as you know, Olaolu has his latest book. Check out that episode here on Storytime. Has his latest book, and it's called Billy Dipper's Time to Shine. It is a beautiful one indeed. I hope that you find it where you find books. Ask for it at your local library. But for now, we do have another story here on Storytime, and this one is called Head to Head, 18 linked portraits of people who changed the world. Yes, I hope that we can get through this one and enjoy, at least compare maybe two pairs. We're going to see how we do it on this the time that we have. So thank you so much for being here. Get ready for this one. Get comfortable. Get cozy. All right. So the first of all, I wanted to say too, like, this the end papers here for when I look at this one, I love it. but it also reminds me of Lisa Congdon and her art, and also Minal Patel. Just every time I look at it, it's like, oh yeah, this is kind of similar art. I love it. Just thought I should share that too. I got very excited about it. All right, this one, head to head. Head to head. 18 linked portraits of people who changed the world. And this one coming to you from SCHIFFER Kids, written by Baptiste CORNABAS, and illustrations by Antoine CORBINEAU. All right, here we go. First stop. Well, I wanted to read this introduction so just we can get an understanding of what the book is trying to do. So here we go. And by the way, those are the different portraits, as you can see. There's one, Leonardo da Vinci and Steve Jobs, Jean Moulin and Nelson Mandela, Gandhi, Rosa Parks, Mother Teresa, Angelina Jolie, Johannes Gutenberg, Mark Zuckerberg, Galileo Galilei, Charles Darwin, Olympe de Gouges, Emma Watson, Amelia Earhart, Felix Baumgartner, and Maurice and Katja Kraft, with Rod Amundsen. And there's all kinds of comparisons in there too. So just so you know what is in this book. But here we go with the introduction. It says, if you're holding this book in your hands, you can thank Johannes Gutenberg. We know so much about volcanoes because of Maurice and Katja Kraft. We can enjoy the internet and share our lives with strangers thanks to Mark Zuckerberg. And we have a lot of scientific data about the South Pole because of Rod Amundsen. Did you know that Mother Teresa, I skipped a paragraph. The world is full of people, some ordinary, some extraordinary, who rethink and revolutionize our daily lives. They perform amazing work, fight for rights and freedom, and seek to discover what is hidden or unknown. But giving you a list of these change makers is not the point of this book. Instead, we will compare 18 people, 9 pairs, who have left their mark during their lifetime. They have not always been perfect, but they have tried to make our world a better place. Did you know that Mother Teresa and Angelina Jolie have something in common? Can you guess what connects Leonardo da Vinci and Steve Jobs? Or Gandhi and Rosa Parks? These people did not live at the same time and never met each other. Yet there is one thing that unites them. What is it? After you read about each pair, turn the page and you will see a timeline that places them within the context of history. At the end of the book is a map that shows where each of these people was born. Maybe some have lived near you. Now let's go head to head. So that's just the introduction, so you get to know what the book is trying to do. So here we go. I picked out the first one that I wanted to look at. Bookmark just fell. Was this one. I went to Jean Moulin and Nelson Mandela. What is it that connects these two historical figures, amazing historical figures? So here we go. Let's start with Jean Moulin. And the book is, so when you open, then you get to see, you reveal a lot more. So let's start with the portrait of Jean Moulin. Let me just get my book right here and we can read about Jean Moulin. And of course, my French pronunciation, please do forgive me. Jean Moulin is a symbol of the French people's resistance to Nazi occupation during the Second World War. He was born on June 20, 1899 in the southern French town of Béziers. Jean's childhood was peaceful and he had a passion for drawing. In fact, his drawings were so good that he was able to sell some to local newspapers. In 1917, during the First World War, 17-year-old Jean enrolled in the Faculty of Law of Montpellier and joined the cabinet of the prefect of the Hérault department. The war caught up with Jean when he turned 18. He was mobilized and then stationed in the Vosges in eastern France. He narrowly missed being sent to the battlefront. His regiment was preparing to go, but the armistice that ended the war was signed in November 1918. Jean took up his life where he had left it. He returned to the prefecture and continued his studies, earning his law license in 1921. In 1925, he became the youngest sub-prefect in France and held a series of positions in different towns. In 1939, the Second World War began. Jean wanted to fight in the battle, but the minister told him to remain prefect. Nazi troops invaded France in May 1940, and on June 17, Jean was arrested and then tortured. The pro-German Vichy government forced Jean to resign, and in October 1941, he moved to London, where he wanted to join the resistance. He met with the French general Charles de Gaulle, who gave Jean a special task: coordinate all the resistance movements under his leadership. Jean returned to France in 1942 to do this job. Jean succeeded in his mission in 1943 when he founded the National Council of the Resistance. This organization united the varied resistance movements and allowed France to stand alongside the winners of the war despite the German invasion. While the council was meeting on June 21, 1943, Nazi troops came to arrest Jean. During his interrogation, the Gestapo tortured him. He died while being transported to Germany in the summer of 1943. He had revealed no information to the enemy. And that is a little bit of the life of Jean Moulin. Now let us look at, of course, the famous life of Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. All right, here we go. Nelson Mandela's real first name was Rolihlahla, which means troublemaker in his native Xhosa language. He was born on July 18, 1918 in Mvezo, South Africa, and had 13 brothers and sisters. Rolihlahla was the first member of his family to attend an elementary school. His teacher gave him an English name, Nelson, which was a common custom at the time. South Africa had been a British colony between 1806 and 1910. Although the region acquired some autonomy as a dominion, it remained in the British Empire. At an early age, Nelson became aware of the oppression of Africans, who had fewer and fewer rights under colonial white rule. In 1939, Nelson Mandela entered the University of Fort Hare to study law. Because of his activism, he was suspended in his second year. He then moved to Johannesburg to escape an arranged marriage. He continued studying law, worked in a law firm, and in 1943 joined the African National Congress, ANC as it is popularly known. This South African political party sought to defend the interests of the black majority against the white minority. He married in 1944. In 1948, the fate of Nelson and the country of South Africa changed forever. That year, the elections were won by the National Party, which enacted racist laws to preserve white supremacy. Under this policy, which became known as apartheid, white and black people were officially separated. Nelson fought against these unfair laws. He was arrested in 1962 and sentenced to prison and hard labor. He became known worldwide as a symbol of struggle for racial equality. On February 2, 1990, after spending 27 years, 6 months, and 6 days in prison, Nelson was released. On that day, he delivered a speech in favor of peace and reconciliation with the country's white minority. Gradually, apartheid laws were abolished because of his actions and the cooperation of South Africa's President F.W. de Klerk. Both men received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993. On April 27, 1994, the first universal elections were held in South Africa, and Nelson Mandela became its first black president. In 1999, he retired from politics and devoted more time to his family. He died on December 5, 2013, at the age of 95. And that is the life, part of the life of Nelson Mandela. And this is the timeline in the back that you can see after each portrait comparison. And there you go in the back. And of course, if you have an opportunity to get this book, I hope that you can look at that. So, what is it that brings these two together, or that we're looking at here? How are we bringing them head to head? Well, they resisted. That is their common point. One resisted the Vichy regime, the other resisted apartheid. Both Jean Moulin and Nelson Mandela stood firm in the face of danger. In 1910, the Union of South Africa was created as a self-governing nation within the British Empire. Soon after, the first racist laws were passed. Black people were excluded from politics and all important occupations. They were also deprived of the right to vote and the freedom of movement. It was in this context that the African National Congress, or ANC, was founded to defend the rights of all Africans. Nelson Mandela joined the party in 1943 and became its vice president in 1952. With the ANC, he led campaigns of civil disobedience by publicly refusing to submit to apartheid laws. Nelson was arrested, sentenced to 9 months in prison, and banned from all meetings. In 1955, Nelson participated in the drafting of the Charter of Freedom, a text that called for equality among all South Africans. After a massacre by the police during a peaceful demonstration, Nelson decided to fight back using weapons. He coordinated acts of sabotage against the government. Between 1961 and 1963, there were 190 ANC attacks, resulting in many countries considering the party a terrorist organization. Nelson was arrested on August 5, 1962, and kept in prison for 27 years. It was only after his release in 1990 that he was able to abolish apartheid laws peacefully. Jean Moulin began his resistance at the same time for different reasons. It was while he was serving as prefect in Central France that the Nazi troops attacked Western France on May 10, 1940. They advanced quickly because of a tactic unknown until then, the Blitzkrieg, or Lightning War, which made it possible to break through the French lines. Paris was captured on June 14, and Jean's town of Chartres fell the next day. On June 17, German officers ordered Jean, as a government official, to sign a racist text. He refused. The Nazis then arrested him and put him in prison. After he was released from jail, he joined General Charles de Gaulle in London. The general asked Jean to return to France to unite the different resistance movements under his leadership. In the spring of 1943, Jean succeeded in creating the National Council of Resistance. The CNR directed and coordinated the various resistance movements to make them more effective. Unlike Nelson, who lived to see results of his efforts, Jean was unable to witness the liberation of France. He was killed by the Nazis in 1943, 2 years before the end of the war. Nelson Mandela refused to obey the racist laws of apartheid. Jean Moulin and Nelson Mandela stood firm in the face of adversity. And that's just one of the stories, one of, the pair that we were looking at there. And so what do we learn from them? Just such iconic, amazing resistors right there. And so hopefully we still have some time. And just quickly, we're going to look at the next one that I had put through as well, I marked. And I just wanted to look at this one very quickly. And we're just going to talk about this one. I referred to this one particularly because Johannes Gutenberg is the one that is responsible for, kind of printing as we know it. We know print has been happening in different forms from back in memorial, but there's things that were done that Johannes Gutenberg did. But also there's Mark Zuckerberg, and we know that there's issues that we can talk about, and hopefully we can touched on them a little bit here today too. But there's something that they've done that is, and that is they changed our way of communicating. And how important has that been? So let's just read this. We're just going to read what it is that brings them together, or why we're putting these head to head. So let's go with this, and then hopefully at the end we can have a little bit of a conversation as well. All right. Johannes Gutenberg and Mark Zuckerberg have last names that end with the same syllable, but they have more in common than that. Each revolutionized the way we communicate with one another and the world. Before Johannes' invention of movable type books were written by hand, and many people participated in their creation. First, a parchment maker prepared the writing materials from animal skins. Then, a copyist wrote the text, and an illuminator decorated the text with drawings. Finally, a binder attached the parchment sheets into one book form. As you can see, writing a book in the Middle Ages was a long and slow process. To copy a Bible, for example, a monk had to work for about 3 years. The printing press was in use long before Johannes made his version. The process of copying text by printing had already existed in Asia. In 6th century China, people were producing images using woodblock printing. And in the 11th century, banknotes were being printed. So why do we give so much credit to Johannes? The technology he developed helped automate and speed up the printing process. For example, he used a mixture of metals to create letters of type, which made them harder to damage during printing. As a result, it was possible to reproduce text quickly and accurately. In 5th century Europe, the rewards of printing were immense. Now, everyone could own books, and knowledge was no longer reserved for the elite members of society. A literate population did not need to depend on religious organizations such as the Catholic Church for education. About 20 million books were printed in Europe between the early days of printing and 1500. 500 years later, Facebook was born. It was not the first social network to exist. Until 2004, Friendster was considered the #1 social network. That was replaced by MySpace, High5, and Google Orchid. Some of these platforms disappeared, and Facebook beat out all the others. Today, the site is a giant. It's the 3rd most visited website in the world, after Google and YouTube. Social networks like Facebook have changed the way we communicate. All age groups use the site to chat, play games, share videos, meet new people, or just talk about their lives without ever leaving home. The widespread influence of Facebook can sometimes be problematic. For example, during the 2016 US presidential elections, Facebook was accused of manipulating public opinion by selling the personal data of millions of Americans to users to outside companies. Those companies then displayed ads to influence the way people voted. We must all be careful what we share on social media and what we choose to like. And we're going to stop there for now. We just thought like those were some important bits that have come up in there, important bits of information. And like it says in there, you know, when you think of Facebook and many issues that come with that, it's been problematic. And I'm glad that people have spoken up, tried to hold Facebook accountable and all these social media companies accountable for what they do. But also, we cannot forget the fact of some of the good that Facebook has done. And for example, with Storytime, it is one that without Facebook and these other social media platforms, I don't know how much would have been able to spread this love of reading, to talk about this love of reading. And so it's just one thing that that I see personally in my life where I've been able to use this and share this information and and be able to reach and meet all you lovely people too, through Facebook, through YouTube. But of course, that responsibility is still there. We need to hold these companies accountable, and we need to make sure that our kids online are safe and everybody that is using the internet is safe. And so these laws and everything must be enacted to make sure that these spaces remain safe. And as they grow, change must happen. Like everything else, as these Facebook platforms and others alike are growing, we must be growing with them and changing, enacting laws. The laws must move with the times. We cannot let these companies keep growing without oversight. And so I feel like that is an important piece, but just wanted to share that. And then two, another thing that came up personally was that right now in Zambia, there was an election last year, presidential elections, and the opposition party was pretty much not allowed to campaign freely, but people were able to use, especially the youth. Over 2.8 million youth, young people, were using social media to campaign, to speak up against injustice, to speak up against the government, and that allowed people to go on to vote, to go on, to hear the messages that were being shared, and also to it gave them a platform to speak up. So just thinking about those things too. But of course, we do realize that these platforms can be problematic if they go unchecked. And that's why we need to keep holding these leaders accountable, holding these spaces accountable. Thank you so much for joining me today. These have just been some of the stories, just two of the pairs that we've looked at in here, head to head. I hope that you can find it where you find books, find it at your local library, ask for it wherever else that you find books. Thank you so much for joining in today. Head to head, 18 link portraits of people who changed the world. I'm telling you, the time we had today is not enough to go through this entire book, but we'll definitely bring it back one of these days again to go through some other personalities in here and see how they changed the world, how they left their imprint, how they left their mark on this world. Thank you so much for joining me today. Absolutely appreciate you. Tomorrow is Friday, and we're back with something a little lighter. And of course, we will be talking all the things a teacher will never say. So do join me for this one tomorrow. All the things a teacher will never say. Actually, too, before we go, there's something at the end of this book that I would love for all of you to see. And at the end, there is a map of where the people in this book come from. And you can see too, it mentions something, because that was the first thing I noticed. I was like, wait, there's only one person from Africa. And so just looking at that and thinking, where are the people that were selected from? But it does acknowledge, and it does say something here. It says, the people in this book were born in different places around the world. Not all the continents are represented in this map, but everywhere and at every moment, people are working to change the course of the future. Maybe you will be next. Yes, or maybe you know that person that you need to add to this map. So maybe when you get this book, you can go ahead and add those people, whether ordinary or extraordinary or however it is, add them to that map, your map, so it is more representative for you. Thank you so much for joining in today. Absolutely appreciate the time that we spent together, and of course reading such amazing books, and of course every morning being inspired to remember to read, to remember to pick up books, but also to remember to be good humans first, and everything will fall in place. Thank you so much for being here. Absolutely appreciate you, and I truly appreciate these moments. Do not take them for granted. Good morning to you, Chad. How are you doing today? One more time, thank you so much for joining in. Absolutely love it. I wish that we could read this together in person and talk about this book a lot more, because I know there's a lot of information in here to go through. But thank you so much for joining in. Absolutely appreciate you. Braylon, high five to you, buddy. Thank you so much as well for joining us today. Auntie Pam, thank you for being here. And you say, oh my goodness, the conversation. Chad said he never saw a book made like that. Fold out pages of info text, but he likes it. So do I. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. I will definitely be passing that on to SCHIFFER. It is a wonderful book, beautiful timelines, and I love the way it's created in talking about issues in all their complexity. And I think that's what I appreciated most about this book, because life is not straight, life is not simple. It's complicated, it's complex, right? There's many twists and turns and things that we have to consider. So I love that this book, for example, in talking about Facebook and all that it did to change how we communicate, allowing us to have platforms like this, but also realizing the problematic aspects of it, and how can we change that? How can we make sure that we're moving forward and doing the right things. Thank you so much for joining in. Absolutely love it. I hope the conversations in your home today are, as beautiful and fruitful as this. And I hope that this has also given you something to talk about, something to touch on. I encourage you to find this book at your local library, please, or wherever you find books, and have more conversations. Thank you so much for joining in today. Absolutely appreciate each and every one of you for being here with us. Susan, thank you so much for joining in Storytime today. Thank you indeed. This is when moments like this, as this when we wish we were reading this book in person together, so we could have all these great conversations and really follow through some of the details that come out. But a great book indeed. This one is called Head to Head, 18 Linked Portraits of People Who Changed the World. Yes, and this one comes to you from Baptiste CORNABAS and illustrations by Antoine CORBINEAU. And of course, we read with permission of the publishers SCHIFFER Kids. A big thank you to them for allowing us to read so many books of theirs this entire week. Absolutely love it. Please go into this day. I hope that you have a light heart. I hope that indeed everything that you try to do works out. And if it doesn't, we try again. We pick ourselves up and we keep trying. Thank you so much for just being here on Storytime today. And of course, together we can uplift each other. Together we can learn and teach each other and move forward. Good humans first, and everything will fall in place. Thank you so much for being here. Hugs to each one of you. I know that the world, is so much that is happening in the world, but of course, I hope that this little corner of the world that we have here on Storytime can help us just to kind of zone in and enjoy some books, travel to different worlds that we're not thinking of that day, and indeed just kind of refresh, reboot, and ready to face the world again. Thank you so much for being here. Absolutely appreciate each and every one of you. I hope that you have a lovely day. Please remember, thank you for your support. We've raised over $5,500 for this ride happening on April 23rd. Thanks to you, your support, your encouragement, this is possible. And of course, I will be taking a video of the ride and hopefully share it with you later on, so you can see the landscape as we go through, and hopefully not hearing my heavy breathing as I try to bike. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. I love this space. Honestly, to start a day like this, I am just fortunate. I'm lucky, and thanks to each and every one of you for making Storytime what it is, for making this space what it is. I always feel encouraged living here, and I turn up every morning because you've encouraged me, because I feel your support, and indeed I feel just the support, the recommendations, the books that come through. And of course, please let us know if there are things you want changed about Storytime. This is your platform. Let us know, and do our very best to make sure that we're bringing something that is indeed enjoyable for everybody out there. Thank you so much for being here. Much love, Braylon, Chad, everybody that joined in. I will see you again tomorrow when we reveal some secrets. Yes, all the things a teacher will never say. Join me for that one tomorrow. Much love, everybody. Bye-bye.
Read me all of your stories. Read me all of your stories. Some with people who look like me, others very different from the way that I look and think. Read me all of your stories. Read me all of your stories. Some stories from far away, others right here in my neighborhood. Story time. Ooh. Story time. Story time with Mr. Lamada. He will be starting soon. Story time with Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. Oh. He brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't live lonely, won't you start all the reading? We just can't wait to be hearing. Brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't live lonely, won't you start all the reading. We just can't wait to be